Dale tu cuerpo de vida, Macarena. This will be my first video. I hope I'm in frame and you can hear me. I decided before I read this book, I just got this book for Christmas. Hopefully, yeah, I just got this book for Christmas. And I decided, in the spirit of creating and not just endlessly consuming, I saw a video this morning that was talking about how often we just consume instead of creating. We don't really leave anything behind or give back. So that was one of the last pushes in a series of events that have led me to make this little video with minimal production skills. I'm recording this on my phone, propped up by my Crocs, my shoes. Anyways, I just wanted to make a little, I don't know, before I read this book and learn stuff from this book, I want to document, in a way, what I personally know about Two Spirits and my personal view on what being Two-Spirit is and my personal life as a Two-Spirit individual. So first, the term, I know it came out of a conference in the 1990s, and it was a term, they were searching for a term, an umbrella term that was all-encompassing, you know, pan-indigenous, to serve as a placeholder for the indigenous identities that were taken from us, that have been taken from us and suppressed and things like that. So that term came about, and I feel like sometimes the term is misused. It's definitely gained popularity through social media, I guess. I mean, I wasn't alive in the 90s, so I don't know how widely used it was before social media. But it's all over social media, especially in queer spaces and things like that. And for me personally, I feel that I've seen sometimes that it's used as like a replacement for the term LGBT or queer. It's used as a replacement for those words just when talking about the indigenous community. And I personally don't see the term that way, because the whole history of that term was to find a term that was pan-indigenous and all-encompassing for us and our many gender variations that we had pre-colonially. And so the whole meat and potatoes of the term being born was to harken back to our pre-colonial identities, but using it as a replacement for LGBT, which is a very modern thing, and very Western, modern Western society element, I feel like that defeats the purpose. And I don't think that's what the original people who gathered to choose that term wanted. I don't think they just came together to be like, oh hey, let's just make up a term that we can use because we're LGBT Indians. Like, no, that's not why the term came about, and I don't think that it should be used like that. It doesn't sit well with me when it is used like that, and usually, I mean, I don't think that it's usually used that way out of malice or anything like that. I think it's just lack of information, lack of knowledge of the history of the term and why it came about, and also lack of knowledge of our pre-colonial ways. Because, I mean, I myself am surrounded by modern Western society, but I don't see myself as a part of modern Western society. I am in it, but not of it. It's all around me. I function in it. You know, I am a participating member of society or whatever, but I'm not of it. Like, I know that I'm not a part of that society. Yeah, so that's why I don't. And also another thing is, I don't believe Two-Spirit should be used as a replacement for LGBT or queer when talking about indigenous people specifically, because LGBT, lesbian, gay, and bi, those are sexualities, and sexuality and gender are two completely different things. If they were not separate, then every single person that is of this gender would be attracted to the same, would have the same sexual feelings for this gender, whether that be the same or opposite or whatever. Every single person that is of this A gender would be attracted to the same person, the same people, the same gender, which is not at all true. Which is, of course, like the very root of us leading to, you know, seeking to reconnect with our pre-colonial ways and things like that, because we know that we're different. Either society tells us first, you know, the outer world tells us first, or we figure it out first. That's why we use these terms or seek these terms and spaces and create these spaces and communities, so that we can have a sense of belonging somewhere. But I don't believe the term Two-Spirit should be used as it is sometimes, in just a way to say LGBT when you're dealing with indigenous peoples, because the very word Two-Spirit implies that there are two spirits in one body. And the way that I see the term is, you have some combination of both the divine masculine spirit and divine feminine spirit in one body. That doesn't matter, you know, it doesn't matter at all what combination of the spirits you have, like if you are exactly half and half, or some days one, some days the other, or you were born one, raised as one, and then later in life were able to live the way you've always felt, which is different from what you were seen as at birth, or how you were raised. Yeah, so any combination of divine masculine and divine feminine, and in any body, whether you were born into this body and feel comfortable in that body, or born into a body that does not necessarily align with your feelings, and have transitioned or anything like that, or not, all of that's valid. And I believe that is what the true meaning of Two-Spirit is, that you have some combination, no matter the amount, you know, the combination of divine masculine, divine feminine in one body, whether you align with that body or don't, and have since, you know, sought to be more in alignment in that body. That doesn't matter. All of that is valid, whether you have or haven't, or don't want to. Period. Me, I don't want to. My personal identity, I'm Nawa. And also another thing is Two-Spirit is a modern term, and I also believe that in reconnecting to our pre-colonial ways and using the term Two-Spirit and things like that, and returning to the circle, rebuilding these communities and things like that were in place and that are what literally have carried us through all of the effects and systems and things like that, all the trauma of colonization and the subsequent generations and their hardships, is community. Community has carried us through that, and in order for us to rebuild that sense of community in any semblance of a pre-colonial way, we have to, yes, of course, seek and find and learn and listen and ask questions as much as we can of sources, whether they be living or written sources, of what our pre-colonial past was when we had that place in the circle. But also, we live in modern times, and we, indigenous peoples, are as much a part of the modern times as any other people, as any other culture across the world. Just because we're connected to elements of our culture that stem from the past and stem from our ancestors' teachings and things like that does not mean that we don't want to perpetuate that into not perpetuate, but that we don't want to grow on that we don't want to expand on that here in modern times. I think that's something that is very important for our community, and I personally have not seen much of an emphasis on that. The emphasis is usually placed on harkening back to our pre-colonial nature. But I think just as important as that is, reconnecting to our pre-colonial ways, it is just as important to, okay, now that we have gathered this information, we live in modern times, which our ancestors did not, and we are going to take those teachings and plant them as seeds. Those teachings are seeds, and plant them into the earth, the soil of modern times, so that we may grow and cultivate a society that is for us in modern times. And I say all of that because when I was first researching the term Two-Spirit and how gender was viewed in Nahua society, particularly Nahua Mexica society, I was finding terms and things like that. I found a few terms. I'll just name them and then I'll go further in depth on terms later. I've seen Xochiwa and Siwayolot for AMAB peoples. And then for APAB, I have seen Patlachtli or Patlache. That's really the only one I've seen for AFAB. But I didn't really align with either of those because I am very fluid. Some days I'm 100% this, some days I'm 100% that, but most of the days I'm just somewhere in between. And so I found one article a long time ago. I'm not even sure if I can find that article again. And I didn't sit and research to look it up because then that would have stopped me from just jumping into making this video. It would have been another distraction, and I do not need that distraction because then I would not have been sitting here making that video. But in that article, I saw that there was another one that I hadn't really heard talked about in any of the other articles, and it was called Nepantla. Nepantla meaning in between. And I was like, oh my God, that is exactly what I am. That is it. Like, it felt so right. It was like a key was just turned, like you've been trying keys in a lock that are not for that lock, and then as soon as you find that one that works for you, it's like sticking the right key in and turning the lock and opening the lock and opening the door. And that's exactly what I felt like when I found that term Nepantla, and I've just gone by that ever since. And I'm not sure, I haven't really seen other people use that term that way. I personally teach it that way whenever people ask me. I teach it as it's a valid gender identity, And that goes back into what I just said about, yes, we need to reconnect and research and gather all of those seeds from the past, but we also need to plant them into the soil of the future. We need to plant them into the soil of modern times to grow and cultivate the plants of the future. Whether that term Nepantla was, a 100% accurate colonial, pre-colonial era term or not, I personally am not certain. But does that align with me, and does it fit within? Is it culturally relevant? Yes, absolutely. At least for me as a Nawa person, yeah, it does. And whether that term is a modern term, a modern reworking of a pre-colonial identity or anything like that, great. I mean, to me, it doesn't, for me, like I said, I don't believe that we should be living only 100% exclusively the way things were pre-colonially, because we live in modern society and we deal with things daily that our ancestors could never have even dreamed of. And that's both, benefits and also hardships that they could never have imagined we would be going through. So, with all of that being said, I feel like it is our duty in the modern times to research and bring as much of that pre-colonial knowledge and that ancestral knowledge to the modern times, into our daily lives and into the future, perpetuate it for the future and our children and those, all of those that come after us. But also it's just as much our duty to take all of that knowledge, like I said, and use it as the seeds, plant it into the soil of today to grow the plants to grow the harvest of tomorrow. Because we are a modern peoples, and we need to not only perpetuate our ancestral knowledge, but also take that and use that as our toolkit to create and shape and mold our lives today and rebuild those communities and return to the circle in a modern way, using those ancestral tools that were given to us. So that's how I feel about my gender identity. I'm not sure if that term is a modern one or not, but I love it, and that's what I go by, and I would love to see other people, I would love to share that term with other people so that they can feel that same lock and key euphoria that I felt when I found that term. And yeah, so that's pretty much my thoughts before I read this book. And also, I have heard it just very few times that some people prefer using indigiqueer versus the term two-spirit, but I'm not sure that I prefer that. And those people that prefer that, that's great. If it works for them, that's wonderful. I love that for them. But for me personally, I don't use indigiqueer versus two-spirit. I like using two-spirit because, like I said, to me, the term has that definition. To other people, it might not have that definition, and that's okay because it's an umbrella term. It's all encompassing. But the original definition of the term, I feel more closely would be how I define it, rather than the conflict. I don't know, not the conflict. Whatever, the problem that some people have with the term two spirits is that, it just reinforces the gender binary because it's only two, implying that there's only, male or female or masculine and feminine, which really and truly there is, but the term is not talking about what your body looks like, what you dress like, what roles you play in society. It's talking about the spirit. It's literally in the term spirit. Because the spirit can be completely different to what the outside looks like. You can have the oldest person on earth, but they can have such a young, youthful, jovial spirit. because that's their spirit. Your spirit does not have to align with your body and your physical being in any way, shape, or form. If it does, then that's wonderful. But it doesn't have to, and that's the beauty of being two-spirit. That my spirit is one way, and my body can be in completely different other way, and that's just how you exist, either because you want to, or because of external circumstances you have to live that way. But your spirit is content. Your spirit knows, this is how I am, this is who I am, this is how I live, this is my medicine. The body doesn't have to match. You have to be able to transcend the physical in order to explore the metaphysical. You have to transcend the physical body in order to be allowed into the medicine realm. Whenever you're sitting with traditional medicines, you have to be able to transcend the physical body, the pain or the tiredness or the throwing up or whatever other sensations the physical body is feeling that we deem uncomfortable or undesirable. You have to transcend all of that which is in the physical in order to be proven, in order to prove in order to prove access, prove the right to access the medicine realm, because not everybody in this exact point in time or point in their life or whatever is ready for medicine, and that's totally fine. You should never look for medicines or anything like that, because you may encounter things on that you're not ready for yet. But when you are ready, you won't even have to look. These medicines will literally find you and clear every blockage and every obstacle in your path for you to sit with them, if that is what's meant for you, if that specific medicine is meant for you at this point in space, and time in your life. And I believe that, that really, traditional medicines really connect with being two-spirit, because you have to transcend the body, the physical body. And that's how you access the medicine of the, traditional medicine, like indigens. That's what I'm talking about. But also, that's how you access two-spirit medicine. You have to transcend the physical, whatever the physical looks like, feels like, has to wear, has to do, perform in society. You have to be able to transcend that in order to reach the medicine, the immense medicine that you carry as a two-spirit person. You have to be able to transcend the physical body in order to gain access to that medicine, in order for your spirit to reach that level of power, really. And then it is your duty to use that for good, for the greater good of first yourself and of your community and things like that. And then connecting communities, different communities as well, that align with you and your beliefs. So yeah, that's why I really like using the term two-spirit versus indigiqueer. I mean, I don't really have anything against the term indigiqueer. I just really love the term two-spirit because it's such a beautiful term, and I love the history of how the term was put together and has been carried forth 30 years, 30-something years or whatever, after its inception, after its birth, and how it's grown so much through social media, and also, like I said, all the medicinal aspects of two spirits, of the breakdown of that term being the divine feminine and divine masculine, and the divine combination of those in any way, shape, or form, any ratio, in whatever body you have, because we all have a body. If you're watching this video, you have a body, obviously. So that is how I view the term, and that is my definition or outlook or whatever you want to call it on the term two-spirit before I've read this book. And I would love to, I'm going to make another video after I've finished this book and done all kinds of, additional, after I annotate the book and everything and sit with it and write about it and stuff like that, I will come back and make another video on my thoughts after reading this book and how my viewpoint has changed, or how it has grown, or how it has stayed the same and only been reinforced. I have no idea what my viewpoint is going to be like after I read this book. But yeah, that is how I view the definition of Two-Spirit and how it should be used and what it stands for and the medicine behind that term, and also the medicine behind us as Two-Spirit peoples, period, like as us Two-Spirit peoples existing now in the modern world. This is such a wonderful time to be alive, because we have all these different kinds of medias that you can access from almost anywhere in the world, as long as you have a connection to them. You can access these different medias. You can talk to people in places and completely different lives and societies and nations and things like that that our ancestors never would have had, and they probably never could have even imagined that such a thing would be possible one day, that we'd all carry phones in our pockets and we would all be able to call someone up in Canada, and then France, and then China, and then India, and then I don't know, Singapore, all within the span of 5 minutes. That we would be able to post some kind of media, a video, a post, pictures, something like that, some form of digital media, and it be simultaneously viewed by hundreds of thousands or even millions of people across the world at the same time, and be able to nurture and gather research and nurture people and lead and connect with people and rebuild our community in such I don't know what the word is I'm looking for. Not easy. I don't want to say that it's easier, because although social media does have its advantages, it has its disadvantages, just like everything else. And we just have to see modern technology and media and things like that as they are. They're not good. They're not wholly good, but they're not wholly bad either. They just are. It's just something that is. Just like everything else in life, things are not always wholly good or wholly bad. They just are. You just have to learn to see things and people as well as they are. You just have to see them as, okay, this thing or this person is. Like this leaf. The shape of this leaf, it's broken, it's crumbled, it's dry, it fell off the tree, it's not living. It's not living on the tree anymore. And the veins are not evenly spaced out. They're not all the same length. They don't connect to the stem at the same point. Which, that's not bad. But it's not good either. It's just a leaf. It is what it is. It is what it is. It's not good that the leaf looks like this. It's not bad that the leaf looks like this. But because it's a leaf, you pick up another one and it's the same thing. This one is longer than this one, but this one is wider than this one. Is it good that this one's wider? Not really. Is it bad that it's wider? No, of course not. That's just the way that it is. And if we if we really expose ourselves to nature, all the different facets of the natural world will teach us that about ourselves. Is it good that you look like this? Is it bad that you look this way? Is it good that you look different from what society sees as beauty? Not really. Is it bad that you look different from what society sees as beauty? No, of course not. You just are what you are. That's just how you are. That's just your being in that moment, in that point in space and time. That's just how you have manifested into reality that at that point in space and time. Yeah, so that's going to be it. That's my view on the term Two-Spirit and pretty much everything I had to say before I read this book. So I'm going to go ahead and start reading this book, and then when I finish it and then do all the processing of whatever I learned from here, afterwards I'll make another video, another update. So yeah, thank y'all for watching. I hope it helps y'all. I hope this video helps y'all. I ain't nobody. I'm just sitting here talking. I'm outside with my tree, and the sun and the earth and the wind and everything, and the dragonflies, the little dragonflies flying around me. Yeah, really, I mean, I don't care. I'm not seeking to get a bajillion and a half followers